Do you ever feel like there just aren't enough hours in the day to make things from scratch? Today, I'm bringing you along for a real life look at how I keep our home running with fresh ground flour, baking, simple meal prep, and a whole lot of multitasking. From starting sourdough pretzel dough to slow cooking chicken for the week and making an easy lunch in between, it's not about doing more, it's about weaving it into what you're already doing. This is what from scratch homemaking looks like in the middle of a full, busy life. Welcome to Pioneer Health Homestead. My name is Sarah, and I am a nurse turned homemaker and homesteader. And this time of year, my mornings generally start by looking over what I have sitting on my counter, whether it's freshly picked cilantro from the garden or all of these seedlings that I have ready to go back outside to finish hardening off. I usually have to just manage that first and get things off my counter, like I said. I am really hopeful for this year's garden season. We have expanded our garden from 8 4x12s and few other beds to also including two in-ground beds. So I do have a very, very big amount of seedlings that I'm hardening off. This isn't even all of them. I have actually already planted some outside, but these are the eggplants, tomatoes, peppers, some extra flowers. I do have some of the squashes and everything getting ready to go outside. While I am recording this voiceover, we are having yet another storm, so I have only put out half of these. So, again, this is my lovely morning routine just before I even start making breakfast generally. Being a busy mom and homeschooling, I don't always have time to cook full meals from scratch every single day. So, this is one of the ways I can stay ahead. I'll just throw frozen chicken into the crock pot in the morning, and by the end of the day, I've got something that I can turn into a few different meals. Now, I do realize that it is not best practice or standards to use frozen meat in the crock pot, but I am watching it and I am making sure that it is cooking through and it is not being raw at the end of it. I do check it with a meat thermometer, and honestly, I'm not too scared of cooking it this way. If that is something that is not your forte, by all means, just defrost it the night before and do this. But again, that does take a little bit more forethought that I did not have on this day. And just use what you have to put into the crock pot. It doesn't have to be anything lavish and fancy. These are just old gardenscapes that I pureed and have had in my freezer for several years now. So I'm trying to use those up. And I'm just adding a little bit of water to help make that lovely broth while the chicken cooks down. And then, of course, some bacon fat because who doesn't like the taste of bacon in things? I think everything's better with bacon. And adding a little bit of fat to chicken breast is always a win for us. And of course, salt, pepper, and some seasoning that you saw us use. And I did have it going for about 6 hours on high, and it came out absolutely phenomenal. I was able to use that chicken for several different meals over several different days, so it really did set me up for success. And on this day, I am starting these sourdough pretzels, and I'm using fresh ground flour. I'm using the hard red and hard white, or excuse me, spelt flour I'm seeing on the side of my jar right now to do that. And I am just going by the weight of the berries to make it that much easier for me when it comes to converting this recipe. Quick side note, these are the tools I use all the time for fresh ground flour, and I do have a discount code for the Nutrimill and Bosch mixer. It stacks with their Mother's Day sale right now, so if you've been waiting, I'll put everything in the description box for you, and I highly recommend you check it out. While everything else is going, I'm starting sourdough pretzel dough for tomorrow. It's one of those small steps that makes from scratch baking actually doable. I'm not trying to fit the whole process into one busy day. I just do a little piece of it when I'm already in the kitchen. This dough can sit and ferment, and by tomorrow, most of the work is already done. All I have to do is shape and bake, and we've got something fresh and homemade without it feeling overwhelming. And especially when I'm using fresh ground flour, this really makes a difference. Giving it time like this helps the flour fully soak in the liquid and ferment better, which just makes the texture and flavor so much better in the end. That's really how I've learned to keep up with this, just layering simple tasks into the day instead of saving it all for later or for just doing it all on one day, which can really feel overwhelming, especially as the dishes pile up. Because I have already weighed the grains, I'm not really measuring. I'm just slowly adding in the flour. And that way it just makes it that much simpler. You'll notice here in a second that I'm just going to end up dumping the bowl in, but doing it bit by bit does help it incorporate a lot better. And since I'm using fresh ground flour, like I've mentioned, that I like to let it sit. After I quickly incorporate everything, I turn off the blender and just let it sit for about 10 to 30 minutes, depending on if it's yeasted or if it's sourdough like this. I can really let it set for 30 minutes to an hour before I go back to it because I want the texture to come together nicely, and that requires the liquid being soaked up so that the wheat berry pieces don't actually keep cutting the gluten as you are going through. While that pretzel dough is resting, I'm going to go ahead and get lunch going. This is usually how my days flow, just moving from one thing to the next while something else is working in the background. Today, it's just simple grilled cheese using our fresh ground flour bread, freshly shredded Monterey Jack, and a little butter on the outside. I don't know how everyone else likes to make their grilled cheeses, but I like to always butter my bread as opposed to just putting the butter in the pan. I find that it burns a lot less. So this is nothing fancy, just something warm and filling while we keep the day going. We're also in the middle of homeschool, so I'm kind of bouncing back and forth between the kitchen and helping the kids. Multitasking really is a must around here if I want to keep things moving. For us, cooking from scratch isn't about doing more, it's about being intentional with what we're already making and using simple ingredients, fresh ground flour, things we already have on hand in our pantry. It just feels better knowing what we're feeding our family. And honestly, sometimes it can feel harder, especially on busy days like this. But once you get into a rhythm with it and you remember why you're doing it, it really does start to feel more manageable. A big part of it for me is just wanting to avoid a lot of the ultra processed foods that are so common in the standard American diet. There are so many additives and ingredients I can't even pronounce, and this just feels like a simpler, healthier way to feed my family, let alone generally it's less expensive. So that's really how I'm able to keep up with it, just working it into the flow of the day instead of trying to do everything all at once. One thing that I've really noticed along the way is how much this can help with our grocery budget. Cooking from scratch is usually more affordable, especially when you're using simple ingredients and making things in batches like this. Over time, those small changes really do add up. Buying those simple ingredients in bulk has made a big difference for us too. It helps bring the cost down even more, and it also means we have food on hand if life gets a little uncertain, like job changes or unexpected seasons. I like to order a lot of our bulk staples through Azure Standard, as I've shared with you on here many times over. And I do have an affiliate link that gives both of us a discount on your first qualifying order. So I'll leave that in the description if you want to check it out. And if you're just getting started, you don't have to overhaul everything all at once. Just pick one thing you're already buying regularly and learn to make that at home. That's really how this all started for me, just swapping things out little by little and building from there. Now that the chicken's done, I'll just go ahead and shred it up and get it ready to use. This is one of those things that might seem really simple, but having this done ahead of time makes such a big difference later on. I can use this for quick dinners, lunches, even snacks, and it saves me from having to start from scratch at the end of a long day. This is really the kind of system I've had to build over time, especially being a nurse and now being home with the kids and homeschooling. I've learned that if I don't do things like this ahead of time, the day just gets away from me. So instead of trying to find big chunks of time, I just look for these small pockets where I can get something started or finished. And that's kind of what you've seen throughout today. Nothing here has been complicated. It's been layered a little bit here and a little bit there, and it all adds up. So I've already shaped all of these pretzels. We generally like our pretzels bigger, so I don't get as many as the recipe says. So if you want that many, you're just going to be making them smaller. And this is definitely a skill that has taken me a couple times to get right, in my opinion. So if you're trying it once or twice and it doesn't seem to be coming together, just keep trying, make little changes here and there. Like this time, I think I added a little too much baking soda into the water because it really foamed up every single time that I was adding in pretzels to the point to where I was scared it was going to boil over. The reason that I like to do sourdough pretzels as opposed to yeasted pretzels using fresh ground flour is like I've mentioned before, it really changes the texture and makes them that much more delectable, in my opinion. So while I could do this all in one day, I also think that that would also be a tad overwhelming to me. So having the dough just going on the counter for me, waiting for me for the next day, and I already have the snack planned because of this, makes me feel like I don't have to rush as much. For this egg wash, I really do wish that I had added in a little bit of water because it was a tad thick, and my kids were not thrilled with the look of egg that came out on the backside of it after it was done baking. So that's just a little tip. Make sure to add a little bit of water to your egg wash. And the salt that I'm using is just Redmond's real salt. You can use sea salt, you can use any kind of bigger granulated salt. And according to my children, you can never put enough salt on these pretzels. On this day, I had made a double batch, but they did not last long enough for me to put into the freezer like I anticipated. My kids just love them that much. And honestly, I don't feel bad about them snacking on these because I know what's in them and I know that there is nutritional value to it. So that's another reason that I prefer to make things from scratch is because I am able to give them that nutrition instead of those ingredients or GMO ingredients that I don't know how they were made or even what they are unless I do a deep Google search. And I'm tired of that. I really prefer to give them things that are going to nourish their bodies and help them grow big and strong. I hope that this video has given you some inspiration and encouragement into trying to be a more from scratch household, not just for your budget, but for your health. And if this kind of from scratch real life homemaking video does encourage you and you find value in it, please go ahead and click on the video that YouTube is recommending for you right here. And I will see you in the next video, friends. Bye.